The Aces swept the Fever last season. They actually haven't won a game against the Aces in 16 games. And they did it without Caitlin Clark. This team is crazy.
We're all feeling good. I think the energy's high. Really good win in Minnesota. Had a chance to celebrate together. I think that only helps our chemistry. We're having fun with each other. We're having fun together playing. Especially we're playing without one of our best players. So to do that in those circumstances, we're really just proud of ourselves.
The Las Vegas Aces, the so-called unstoppable dynasty of the WNBA, just got a reality check in front of the entire basketball world. A 27-point beatdown? Check. Aya Wilson getting every friendly whistle possible and still coming up short? Big check. And Chelsea Gray, who some people still claim is better than Caitlin Clark, disappearing when it mattered most? The biggest check of all. While Aja was busy dragging players down from behind and somehow avoiding fouls, over in Indianapolis, a squad was busy showing her what real, high IQ, team-first basketball looks like.
The Indiana Fever just beat the Aces. The first win for the Indiana Fever against the Las Vegas Aces since I was 22 years old.
Because that 81-54 beatdown by the Indiana Fever wasn't just a loss for Vegas. It was a statement. A giant neon sign glowing Fever red, declaring that no amount of referee favoritism, no stat padding from A'ja Wilson, and no overhyped dynasty talk was going to save them once Indiana locked in and played real connected basketball.
A'ja Wilson. My God, you see how many free throws that lady had? Oh my God, on the stat sheet, she had basically 30 points, but all the free throws this woman got, man, they tried their best to keep the Aces in the game, man, but it didn't matter. They destroyed the Aces. About freaking time the Fever finally beats the Aces, man. And without Caitlin Clark.
Now let's zoom in on the moment things really started to heat up. In the third quarter, Lexie Hull, who's been all grit and steady growth this season, boxed out A'ja Wilson with such precision it could have been lifted straight into a coaching clinic. She claimed her space, planted herself perfectly, and pulled down the rebound like she's done it 1,000 times. Textbook execution. Then came A'ja Wilson, reaching over Lexie's shoulders and arms from behind in a desperate swipe at the ball. A move so obvious and reckless it could headline a what not to do reel. Ask anyone who's seen even one AAU game. That's an over-the-back foul. Clear as day. Indiana ball. Play on. Case closed. But the refs? They chose to toss the rulebook out on live TV. Somehow, defying all common sense, they called it a jump ball, as if Wilson had just as much right to that rebound after bulldozing Hull from behind.
But this was a big win for the Fever because the Aces were the only team that they had not won at least one game to last season, meaning the Aces swept the Fever last season. They actually haven't won a game against the Aces in 16 games. And they did it without Caitlin Clark. This team is crazy.
Even the broadcast crew couldn't mask their disbelief. Their reactions bounced between stunned silence and uneasy laughter as they tried to make sense of what they were seeing. The contact was blatant. The foul was undeniable. Yet somehow, the officials chose to smooth it over in a way that effectively rewarded the player who committed it. But this is where things turned poetic. The Indiana Fever didn't sulk, didn't lose their edge, and certainly didn't let the refs dictate their game. They shook it off, tightened their laces, and responded by tearing the Aces apart, so decisively that every blown call faded into the background. Let's break down how Indiana took what should have been a Vegas momentum shift and turned it into a full-blown showcase of smart, selfless, and unstoppable basketball.
I think everyone's coming in with a level of focus every day, just right now knowing that, we do have a target on our backs and making sure that we're locked in on everything we're doing in practice. But I think we're taking that energy that we have, that fun, that lightheartedness into practice because at the end of the day, this is a game. We want to have fun, and I think we play our best basketball when we're playing free and having fun and being joyful and playing together.
From the opening tip, Indiana came out swinging. They jumped out to a 6-0 lead and never let up. By the end of the first quarter, it was 21-4, and you could already feel the game slipping out of Vegas's hands. The Fever were shooting nearly 53%, holding the Aces to under 29%, and dominating the paint 16-4. It was clear from that moment, this wasn't going to be the Aces' crowning night. But it was the second quarter where the Fever went straight for the jugular. They outscored Vegas 25-10. Not a typo, 25-10. Indiana shot a staggering 82% from the field, while the Aces limped to just 24%. The Fever went a perfect 6 for 6 in the paint. Vegas managed a miserable 3 of 13. By halftime, it was 46-24. Let's be real, game over. And that controversial jump ball? It happened just as Vegas desperately needed a miracle to climb back in. The refs tossed them a lifeline, a possession they didn't earn, offering them a shot to swing the momentum.
Yeah, let's get a dub column. Great job. We held them to 26% from the floor. Nice.
For the Fever, it was one of those moments, the kind that makes you think, here we go again. You could feel the quiet frustration settle in. Lexie Hull did everything right, textbook fundamentals, and still got nothing for it. It's the kind of moment that can shake a young team, especially when you're up against a decorated powerhouse like the Aces. For Vegas, that gift from the refs was a desperate gasp of air. Down big and scrambling for any kind of momentum, they were suddenly handed a so-called 50-50 ball that was anything but. And for a brief moment, it felt like, just maybe, the officiating might start tilting in favor of the defending champs. But Indiana wasn't having it. The lead ballooned to 68-47 heading into the fourth, and what followed was nothing short of a humiliation. The Aces put up just 7 points in the entire quarter. That's not professional offense. That's a full-on systems collapse. Even the 81-54 final score feels generous to Vegas. The truth? Indiana dismantled them, piece by piece. And we've got to pause for a moment on A'ja Wilson's so-called big game. Yes, she put up 29 points on 9 of 18 shooting and went 11 for 13 from the line. On paper, that's superstar-level production, until you notice she took almost as many free throws as the entire Indiana team combined. The whistles were so generous, they could have come with a bow on top. And yet, despite all that help from the officials, the player hailed as the best in the world still walked away on the wrong end of a 27-point blowout.
A'ja Wilson, she got a favorable whistle in the second half, but it is what it is. Superstars get the whistle. Unless your name is, 29 points for A'ja Wilson, 3 boards, 3 personal fouls, 3 turnovers, 9 for 18 from the field, 11 for 13 from the free throw line.
Take a moment and let that sink in. The league's crown jewel dropped a flashy stat line, and it meant absolutely nothing. The rest of the Aces looked completely out of sync. Chelsea Gray was a ghost, and the Indiana Fever played like a team on a mission to burn the dynasty narrative to the ground. Through it all, Caitlin Clark, Lexie Hull, and the Fever weren't just sticking to a game plan. They were rewriting the league's power structure in real time. Lexie Hull didn't let that blown call define her night. She doubled down, crashed the boards with purpose, and made A'ja earn every inch. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, the floor general, orchestrated the offense with precision, stretching the defense, sparking fast breaks, and leaving the Aces scrambling.
I don't know about frustrations boiling over as more to just like making a point. Caitlin said she got me though, so. One more than that. She just got a bonus.
And by bonus, she was meaning the Commissioner's Cup bonus, which was $43,000 per player because the prize pool was $500,000. Apparently, Steph White just was pissed about the officiating.
So let's break down the harsh truth for the so-called dynasty in Las Vegas. Outside of A'ja Wilson's 9 for 18 showing, the rest of the Aces combined to shoot a miserable 7 of 43 from the field. That's an embarrassing 16.3% from the entire supporting cast. Not a single other Ace even managed 6 points. Let that sink in. This is a team praised for its so-called unmatched depth, and yet their MVP candidate was left out there playing 1-on-5, while her co-stars disappeared under the weight of the Fever's relentless defense.
Like I said, the referees were starting to get on the side of the Aces. They were trying to wheel the Aces back in. And Sophie Lexie stepped in and sort of killed it. Kelsey Mitchell never took her foot off the gas tonight, by the way. This is the best thing I've seen from Stephanie White all season long. Right here, she was aggravated by the refs already. And in the fourth quarter, 5:35 left, Stephanie White lost her shit on the sideline. She lost her shit. And let me just play this right here. Roll it.
Lost that lead late.
And she's gonna, you see her just losing it up here. Losing it. And she got teed up right there.
Now, let's talk about the supporting cast that was supposed to show up. specifically Chelsea Gray. Because this is the same Chelsea Gray that some people still argue is somehow better than Caitlin Clark. Well, the box score says otherwise. Gray finished with just 2 points on 1 of 3 shooting, added only 2 assists, and coughed up 5 ugly turnovers. That's right, 2 points. This is the veteran floor general who's supposed to run the offense and elevate her teammates. Instead, she looked stuck in quicksand while Indiana's swarming defense pounced on every sloppy pass and forced error after error.
With more turnovers than points and assists combined. More turnovers than points and assists combined. We got point guard, aka point fraud. And remember, this is probably who the WNBA player said was also better than Caitlin Clark. They said I'm pretty confident they said she was better than Caitlin.
Meanwhile, let's talk about what Caitlin Clark was doing. From the bench, no less. While Chelsea Gray was out there offering next to nothing, Clark was fully locked in on the sideline, energizing her teammates, leading vocally, and staying locked into every possession despite being sidelined. The cameras kept catching her jumping out of her seat after big plays, firing up the squad, and staying emotionally invested from start to finish. That's leadership you can't coach. That's the kind of presence that inspires belief, even without logging a single minute. Clark wasn't padding a stat sheet, but make no mistake, she was absolutely impacting the game. And speaking of winning, the Fever's performance without their franchise star was nothing short of a basketball symphony. Kelsey Mitchell lit it up with 25 points and 6 assists, controlling the tempo with confidence. Aaliyah Boston was a powerhouse in the paint, dropping 20 points and pulling down 7 rebounds, reminding everyone why she's one of the most refined bigs in the league. Then there was Natasha Howard, who looked like she had a personal vendetta against the Aces, finishing with 11 points, 10 rebounds, and earning Commissioner's Cup MVP honors for her efforts. This was textbook team basketball. Balanced offense, selfless play, and clutch execution under pressure.
This defense is playing phenomenal. Oh my God, it's night and day. I think that Commissioner's Cup gave them swag. Now they're swagging it out. I never seen Natasha Howard so aggressive in my life. This girl is beasting now all suddenly. She is beast moding right now. And Timpson, the rookie, getting block shots, getting steals. Aaliyah Boston is just murking, destroying Aja Wilson. I got a Wilson. I got a nickname for Aja Wilson, guys. You know what it is? Whistle Wilson. Because this lady's always getting whistles. She's the person with the special whistle, guys. Every freaking time. And then she goes to the free throw line. Freaking free throw merchant. I think she's related to SGA. But anyway, she's not playing that great.
But if you really want the story of this game, forget the scoring totals. This was all about defense. Indiana's defense was so airtight, it could have kept out the Vegas heat wave. They held the high-powered Aces to a brutal 26% shooting, their worst offensive outing of the season. The Fever forced 17 turnovers, dominated the paint with a 28-10 edge in the first half alone, and played defense so in sync, it looked like they shared one mind. Every switch was crisp, every help rotation perfectly timed. It was a masterclass in team defense, and the eye test? It confirmed every brutal stat. Sure, Aja Wilson dropped 29 points. Great for the highlight reel, but completely empty in impact. While she was piling up numbers, the Fever were calmly tearing apart every so-called adjustment the Aces threw their way. They moved the ball with precision, turned defense into fast-break gold, and executed their sets like a battle-tested playoff team. Meanwhile, Aja's points felt like empty calories. Nice on paper, but meaningless when her team trailed by nearly 30 at the final buzzer. And through it all, there was Caitlin Clark on the sideline, soaking it in and loving every second. Her energy was contagious, pure, unfiltered joy that radiated through the entire team. Every time the camera cut to her, she was fired up, celebrating hustle plays, clutch threes, and forced turnovers like it was Game 7 of the finals. Now contrast that with the Aces bench. It looked like a funeral, slumped shoulders, blank stares, and not a spark of life. They had no answers, no fight, just confusion about how things unraveled so fast. What this game really did was rip the curtain back on a truth that's been simmering all season. The Las Vegas Aces are not the unstoppable force they keep pretending to be. Their chemistry is off, their confidence shaken, and when things get tough, they crumble. This isn't the team that once intimidated the league. And the Fever? They didn't just take advantage, they stomped on the gas and never let up. This wasn't a feel-good underdog win. It was a full-blown demolition that shouted, "We're built for this. You're not.
Team win, folks. Team win. And you notice the team win, like I said, 24 assists on 31 shots. 24 assists on 31 shots. The Indiana Fever hold the Las Vegas Aces to 26% from the field. 26%. This was a Fever defense smothering. The Aces weren't just missing shots. The Fever defense was all over the place. Defensively, we were all over the place. Neither team could hit a three except for Kelsey Mitchell.
And let's circle back to Aja Wilson for a moment. Yes, she got plenty of help from the officials, pulling players down from behind and somehow turning fouls into jump balls. She walked to the free throw line 13 times, just 4 fewer than the entire Fever squad. And yet, despite all that referee generosity, the so-called best player in the world dropped 29 points that didn't move the one number that mattered. The final score, Indiana 81, Las Vegas 54. That's the real headline. Wilson's stat line? Flashy, sure, but ultimately just expensive wallpaper covering a house that was falling apart. What the Fever did was send a message loud enough to echo through the entire league. They're not scared of names on jerseys, not impressed by MVP titles, and definitely not backing down from biased whistles or big moments. They've got real chemistry, real toughness, and the kind of belief that championship teams are built on. Meanwhile, the Aces better figure out who they really are, and fast. Because this blowout made one thing crystal clear. They're no longer the standard. They're no longer the inevitable champions everyone's chasing. The Indiana Fever just ripped that narrative away, and did it without Caitlin Clark even stepping on the court. Here's the bottom line for the rest of the WNBA. No amount of highlight reels or referee favors will save you when you face a team playing connected, fearless basketball. The hierarchy has shifted, the Fever have arrived, and they're here to stay. And if they can dismantle the defending champs without Caitlin Clark, just imagine what's coming when she's back out there, draining logo threes and running the floor like only she can.